Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I put up a poll a few days ago asking if you'd rather see a whole bunch of agates or just some of my most interesting rocks from my collection. And you guys decided to see a whole bunch of interesting rocks from my collection, so that's what today's video is going to be all about. I had a lot of fun going through my rocks and deciding which ones I wanted to be in the video. I could have had probably 2 or 3 times as many, but I wanted to keep this video relatively short. So, with the intro out of the way, let's get into some of my favorites. All of these over here were rocks that were given to me, and then all these over here are rocks that I found around here. So let's start with lots of people's favorites, some Lake Superior agates. So I just think this one's really cool because of just how big the stripes are on it. And I've got some water over here so I can get them wet too. I think I found this one at a boat landing. This one I call my Xenomorph Agate because it reminds me of a xenomorph with like the tongue mouth thing coming out. I just think this one's really cool. I think all of these are really cool. This one just has some really nice pretty colors on it. I like how red it is, and then there's like one red stripe right there. I think you can tell why I picked this one. Let's get it wet. Look at how beautiful that is. Good example of a floater agate. I haven't found too many like this, so that's why I chose this one. I just think it's really cool. I'll look at this one next. How cool are the colors on this one? I found this one in a stream around here, but I found it before I started making videos. And in that same stream, found my first ever amethyst agate. And it's got a little bit of really nice banding in it. But I just love how purple that is. Now this one is probably my best example of a shadow agate. So if you kind of see this black line when I move it in the light, how it kind of moves back and forth, that's what makes a shadow agate, is when you can see like a shadow moving across it. And you can even see that one when it's dry. This one just has some really pretty colors on it. And it's got some cool orange staining on the outside of it. And I like when the bands make that chevron. This might be the weirdest agate in my collection. It's green, it's light pink, it's opaque. How weird is that? It's got some really pretty bands on it though. I just really love the colors on this one. I'm gonna get it a little bit more wet. The colors and the lines are just awesome. Here's another one with some really interesting coloring. You don't find a lot of green agates. I just think this nodule is kind of an interesting color. It's lavender. So I'm not sure if it's amethyst or just a pink colored agate. This one is one of my most favorite agates. And there's a few reasons for that. One, it's big. Two, it's also a waterline agate. And then right up there you can see there's actually a little eye. But it's also really interesting because usually when you get a waterline agate and a fortification agate that's mixed together like that, usually the lines are going the same way. But this one, they're perpendicular to each other. And I have never seen that on any other agate that I've found. So yeah, just a really, really unique agate. Sure makes you wonder how it was formed. All right, 2 more Lake Superior agates left. There's there's this big one. Whoops. There's this big one, and there's this little one. And this little one doesn't look like much, but it has some really cool botryoidal formations on it. And it also has some nice colors in the banding. And then this one is a bigger one with botryoidal formations on it. And it's just kind of a funky looking agate. I found both of these right by each other too, which is kind of weird. I found them in a farm field. I love all the little eyes and weird stuff kind of floating around in there. But yeah, those were the first two, and I think only botryoidal agates that I've ever found. So that does it for the Lake Superior agates. I do have a couple more agate-like things. I'm pretty sure this is a cold water agate. And it's the only one I've ever found, although I haven't really looked for them, but I think it's funny because I found this one in our landscaping. We've got a lot of limestone in our landscaping, and so one of them just had these little agate bands in it. So go check your landscaping. You might be surprised at what you find. All right, next let's take a look at some fossils. I don't have a lot that I've found around here, but this is probably one of the most interesting. This one's my egg yolk fossil. And I think it's a fossilized sponge, but I'm not 100% sure. But central Minnesota doesn't have a whole lot for fossils, so. But one of the most interesting fossils that we have is Marielle and Jasper. All these swirls are colonies of bacteria, and they're somewhere around 2 billion years old. So it's one of the oldest fossils you can find. And it's really, really pretty. It's like a Van Gogh painting. Now I tumbled this, but you kind of see how it has all these pits all over it. Well, for whatever reason, Marielle and Jasper has pits throughout the whole rock, and so anytime you try to tumble it, you end up with a whole bunch of pits that get exposed. And then this is my other favorite piece of Marielle and Jasper. Because this is Marielle and Jasper Agate. How cool is that? I'd tumble it, but it has that big hole right there. So I'm just going to leave it as is. Alright, up next is this polished piece of Thompsonite. Now I found this piece probably when I was around 12, and I had no idea what it was at the time, but I just thought it was a cool rock, and so I brought it home and kept it for all these years. And then a while ago I took a trip to Michigan and met with Rob, and he has a whole bunch of lapidary equipment that he let me use, and so I gave this piece of Thompsonite a face polish. And I'm really happy with how it turned out. It exposed some really, really pretty patterns in it. And it didn't look like this before. I'm not sure if I have a picture of it from before, but it had a lot more white all around it, or on the surface of it, and you couldn't really tell it was Thompsonite. Took a really nice shine though. I didn't want to go too deep because this is a pretty thin layer. But I am very happy with the shine I got. Now I'm not sure at all what this is. I found this somewhere around central Minnesota, and it was just a little piece like this. So if you have any idea what this is, it's not, I don't think it's an agate, but I don't know what else it is. So if you know what it is, let me know. It's just really interesting. So if you've seen a lot of my videos, you know I like to go to the Cayuna Iron Range and go through the old mine tailing piles. And this is one of the coolest things I've found there. I tried not to pick rocks that have been in videos, but this one has. But I just think it's so cool. I rarely find amethyst, and when I do, it's usually a piece that's been moved around by glaciers and stuff. So it's really special when I can find a piece that still has the crystals. And then on the other side, I haven't figured out what these are, but it's just a really cool specimen. And I've got some more rocks from Cayuna in this bag. It's really interesting because you can find stuff that like this that hasn't been weathered. That still has the botryoidal crystals. Now I'm not sure what this yellow mineral is, but it has some more botryoidal crystals on it too. I call this my Booger Rock. And I think that's some Bingamite right there, that red. Oh, there's definitely some. But just, you can find some really neat stuff there. I think this is an example of something they call Gertite. I think that's how you say it. I'll put the name up too. But it's a manganese iron formation, and Cayuna is one of the best spots in the world to find examples of it. So I'm not 100% sure if that's what this is, but I think that's what this is. And then this is another piece of botryoidal iron formation. But I think this one is a special type. There are two main iron minerals that you can find. There's hematite and then there's Gertite, named after the German poet. And very rarely the two can form together. And I think that's what this is. And the reason I think that is because it has kind of this almost iridescent colors to it. And when they form together, it's called turgite. And you could find some really pretty examples of it if you look it up. But I'm pretty sure this is a low quality piece of it. One of the other cool things you can find in the Cayuna Iron Range is Bingamite. And it comes in red and yellow. And the cool thing about it is it's chatoyant. So you can kind of see how the light plays off of it. Sort of like tiger's eye, if you've ever seen that. And these two pieces are extra special because they didn't actually come from the Cayuna Iron Range. This one came from Mille Lacs Lake, and this one came from Gull Lake. And I'm not sure how they got there. From what I've read, you can only find it around Cayuna. And those places are kind of close, but they're not super close. So I'm not sure how they got there. But that's why they're in this video, because they're really interesting. Another thing that I've done videos on is cross rocks or starlight. So this is my bag of starlight crystals that I found. I don't have a great display for all my rocks. I just kind of keep them. I keep my agates in jars, and then other interesting stuff I put in plastic baggies. But I've got a couple videos on those. So now let's take a look at some of the rocks that other people have given me. We'll start with this one. I think you can guess who gave this to me and what it is. This would be from Rob from Michigan Rocks, and it's a big pudding stone. And when I free up more space in my tumbler, I think I'm going to put this in there and make it shiny. Now these two rocks were given to me by a really generous subscriber. And he was the same subscriber who gave me the geodes that I cut in this video. And what these are lanite. I think that's how you say it, lanite. And these can only be found in Texas, and they're special because these blue crystals here are actually quartz. So it's a really rare example of blue quartz. So these are really interesting. And then he also gave me some really beautiful quartz clusters. Sorry about my dog. Isn't that just beautiful? I could look at this all day. And then he also gave me, this isn't a chunk of ice, this is a really cool quartz crystal. And he gave me a few of these, but this one is the most clear. One of my bucket list trips would be to Arkansas to look for the really big crystal points like this. I just think these are so cool. Alright, the next rock on the list is this fire agate from Arizona. This is another thing that I just think is so cool. I always think it's cool when rocks have botryoidal formations. Funny how if it was like this, you'd probably miss it. That's another bucket list thing that I'll have to do. Look for fire agates and petrified wood in Arizona. And the last rock on this list, this one's from Taylor, and it's Agatized Coral. And he gave me a bunch of this stuff, and it is just so cool. It's got more of those botryoidal formations. And it almost looks like it has some dendrites in there. But I love the banding around there. And just how beautiful it is. Alright, so there you have it. Those are some of my most interesting rock specimens that I own. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next week. Goodbye.